Hello, lacrosse friends. Welcome once again to Lacrosse Link, your link to all things lacrosse. I am your host, Steven Stamp. Very pleased to have you along once again. This week, we are featuring CUFLA, the Canadian University Field Lacrosse Association, and the season is underway, but we're going to talk to a couple of people who aren't taking part in it this year because we're looking at Nick Chaykowsky, who is a five-time All-Canadian, played for the Chesapeake Bayhawks in Major League Lacrosse, and was an absolute star, a horse on the field for the Nipissing Lakers, and then the Trent Excalibur. Really fun conversation with him from where he is home now and teaching as he went to Teachers College at Trent. And then we talk with Nic Soubry, who stepped into the footsteps of Tim Murdoch, legendary coach at McGill. And we'll talk to Nick about why McGill isn't able to play this year and what they're doing to fill the void and make things as good as they can be in this challenging season for the players who have been at McGill. It is a lot of fun talking to both of them. Some great guests, great guys. We're looking forward to you checking them out. And remember, stick around for the rundown at the end of the show.
Beautiful play, Aaron Greyeyes. He is having himself a tournament. He made the save regardless of the crease call, and that shows he is at his acrobatic. In the middle, it just bounces off, but it's picked up and scored.
For the biggest, that's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
Welcome to Lacrosse Link, five-time CUFLA All-Canadian Nick Chaykowsky. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to catch up. I know you're teaching now. You've moved on, but you spent 6 years in CUFLA. A bit of an unusual experience because you were, as I mentioned, a five-time All-Canadian for two different schools. Can you just explain to us your journey through CUFLA and how that came to be?
Well, I was looking at some schools in the States doing the D1 thing and scholarships, talking to coaches. And by the end of it, I kind of just figured this is the education I needed to be a teacher in Ontario. So I kind of just fell into that path and decided to go that way. And I just knew I could do it as long as I played junior A and trained hard in the off season.
So you went to Nipissing for 4 years to do your undergrad, and you were a three-time All-Canadian there. And then you went and did the education program at Trent after that, right?
Yep.
And during that time, like you said, you played for Nipissing, you play at Trent, and go to a Baggataway Cup final. And while you're in school, you get drafted by at the time, the New England Black Wolves, now the Albany FireWolves, and you've played 3 seasons. Yep. Well, 3 seasons and then the canceled season, right? With the Black Wolves.
Yep.
Or is it 2 seasons plus the canceled one?
I don't know. It might have been 2.5.
Yeah.
2.5. Especially this last year and a half or 2 years, everything is almost a blur, which is weird.
I hear you.
It's moving really weird.
Yeah, it's been really strange. I try and remember too. I should have pulled it up on the screen, but I was just like, wait a second. But anyway, while you're at Nipissing, the program there was really taking off. What was the experience like for you playing in CUFLA with the Lakers as they basically developed the program there?
First thing that comes to mind is family. My first year there was the inaugural season, and there's a few guys there. They just loved the game. They were best buds. We had a coach in the area, and they were working towards that for a couple years, 2 or 3 years, playing exhibition games as not like a legit CUFLA team.
Right.
And they put all that work in. Guys like Curtis Perry, Brody Burkhoff, Pat Fitzgerald, and Kyle Weatherall, they really put the work in at the start. And then by the time I got there, we had a legit CUFLA team. And that was the one word. It was just like family. We showed up, we love lacrosse, and we didn't have too many guys out on the field, but when we did, we played hard, we practiced hard, we got better, hung out together in the weight room together, and we just kind of had like building our own community there up in North Bay, and just went from there and traveled all over, played other universities. It was great.
And after you headed to Trent, I believe it was the year that you went to Trent, Nipissing finally, behind guys like Scott Dominey and Tanner Poole, and I think Will Craig may have been there as well, made it to the Baggataway, and you're going to the Baggataway with Trent because you transferred. So what was the change like for you going to Trent, like you said, leaving behind kind of a family that you'd established and having to play with a different team, which I know you enjoyed the experience there too?
Yeah, the change it was different, but it was really the same with that family part because Trent, a lot of Peterborough boys, they all grew up playing together and they've been in that area forever. You had Mark Farthing there. He's a great coach. And really that's kind of the same vibe. Maybe that's just the lacrosse community in general, but really it was just like walking into another family, and it was more structured, but Nipissing is more legitimate now too. Ever since I left, they got the turf field now. I think they have their own change room. They're getting better swag, like jerseys, all that. And they're really turning into a cool program. They finally proved themselves to the athletic department there. And that's exactly what I didn't experience it there as much, but as soon as I went to Trent, that's kind of what we got. And I really like the feel at Trent University with the campus and all that.
And Nipissing now hosting Baggataway Cup this year. I don't know if you'll have a chance to get there in November, but I know they're pretty excited about getting to have the Baggataway on home turf.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. That's something I think that's been in the back of their heads ever since I was there. And finally we got our shot. So I'm excited to see that for sure. That'll be great.
And a lot of CUFLA players going on over the years to play in the National Lacrosse League. Tons of guys lately getting drafted, including yourself, of course. You've played in that league, but you also did a little less common feat for a CUFLA player, which is played in Major League Lacrosse in the Pro Field League. What was it like playing for Chesapeake and getting into the Pro League?
It was fast. We didn't have a regular season. We were in that COVID bubble thingy.
Right.
2-week thing. I don't even remember if there was one tryout or two tryouts or if there were practices. But I showed up and I never played legitimate short stick defensive midfielder ever. I just kind of, you go out there and you play defense, but they had some more systems. I had some things to learn, some American terms to learn. And I was just, just like New England, you walk into training camp, you're like a sponge and you're always picking the old guys' brains saying, what do I do wrong? What do I do right? What do I got to do to be better? Even if you annoy them a little. And that's all I was doing, just trying to soak it up. It was a bit of a learning curve. Yeah. And I'm hoping I can get in the PLL next year and get a tryout and see if I can make it there.
Bit of a switch for you, right? Going to the short stick D midi because you played defense. You played everywhere basically in CUFLA, but you're also, you were a CUFLA East scoring champion. A lot of the accolades you got were because of the points you put up, and not always. I always thought you were a solid defensive player as well, but you're really, I think people focused more on the O side for you.
Yeah, and even playing defense in CUFLA, it's way different than MLL because playing against a different type of player there, but. Yeah, it was a little different. And I always, in CUFLA, I was always geared more towards thinking about plays and how to score in the offensive side instead of what I'm doing on the D side. So it was a bit different that way.
And probably very different because I know, like in CUFLA, people always talk at Trent, you played a ton of minutes. And with Chesapeake, you would have been going in much more situationally, just go in more of a burst approach rather than having to bide yourself and harness your energy for a full 60 to 80 minute game.
Yeah, it was a little refreshing just to go out there, kind of sprint your legs off and come back off and rest. Whereas CUFLA, out there a lot more, kind of got to pace yourself and slow the game down a bit. But yeah.
Really appreciate you taking the time to come on, Nick. It's great to catch up. Look forward to seeing you at a rink again sometime soon. And fingers crossed, maybe you can get up to North Bay again. I know it's a bit of a trek for everybody, but it's going to be pretty fun being up there for the Baggataway Cup.
Yeah, it'll be really fun.
Joining me on Lacrosse Link is Nic Soubry, who stepped into the shoes of legendary McGill lacrosse head coach Tim Murdoch upon his retirement. Hasn't got a chance to actually coach the team on the field yet, and now you're kind of in limbo, Nic.
Yeah, it's been I would say it's been quite the first 2 years of my coaching career, but you roll with the punches, as they say. And so, so we're obviously, as everybody knows, we're not having a season here at McGill. I'm speaking from, my kind of personal opinion as to why, obviously McGill's made a statement already, and, I've had long discussions with them, and I think for them, there was just, they felt like there's, a return to sport, a safe return to sport, a way to do that. And when they were doing their calculations, because of different circumstances of our sport specifically, be it our league or be it also, a lot of Ontario play, stuff like that. There's a lot of, complicated things, but it's just decided that for us, our team wasn't going to play this year with, 9 other teams at McGill. So it's been, obviously a tough go for our guys on our team, and it's been really tough, I think, mentally at the beginning. But, as we'll talk about it, we've done stuff as a team still, even though we've become 2 club teams. We play in the Quebec men's league right now as 2 separate club teams. I think for the future, and especially with McGill, I know, we'll be back in 2022, that's for sure. And, I've had a lot of great discussions with, the AD, Jeff Phillips and Leeson, who are really championing our side, which is good to hear, right? You always want to hear that, the people above you really care about your sport, and they do. So that's always, it's great to hear. And I also wanted to mention as well, a big thanks to both 2 guys on our team, Oliver Bull-Sturley, who's helped me a lot, and also Isaiah Storm Cree. They've both, really taken the helm this year and really helped us, managing, be it, the club teams that we have and different stuff. So, yeah.
And it's a shame for everyone in CUFLA. I know everyone misses having McGill in. Tim Murdoch and yourself have both, and the rest of the coaching staff have put so much into it. And one of the things, as you mentioned, the athletic department, even though it's not going the way you'd like this year in terms of not being able to play, there's been so much support there. We had the Baggataway Cup there a couple of years ago, and the support from the administration, from Earl Zuckerman, who is kind of a dream, I guess, sports information officer in a lot of ways. He puts a lot of work in. You guys have had the support. It's just for some of the teams, it's just not working out this year at McGill.
Yeah, it's been tough, and I've had a lot of good conversations with, especially like our AD Jeff Phillips, and I don't envy his role. He's been put in a position where, only certain things can happen. Yeah. Tough decisions. Only certain things can happen. And he has to be, the bearer of bad news. And so, luckily, the discussion is open. We talk, weekly, and we're really working towards 2022 now and trying to create more opportunities for the guys on the team currently with what, the administration and what the city and everything allows. So.
Yeah. And I know obviously it's a frustrating thing for everyone involved on all sides. And I know the players and you want to be out on the field, which is why you've had players who have put together, like you said, 3 Bears and Flood Girl lacrosse clubs, right, to play in the Quebec League. What's that been like for the guys to, obviously not quite the same, but getting out on the field at least?
Yeah, it's been interesting. So we created these 2 clubs and the background of the names are very much McGill related. So a lot of people don't understand why we named them those things, but they're McGill related. And, it's been fun. We've split our team up. So we have, obviously we're graduating a lot of guys again this year. So most of the graduating players are on the 3 Bears. And then we have all, our first year, second year, kind of newer guys with some of our third years are on the Flood Girls. So it's been a very cool opportunity, especially for the younger players to kind of hang out and get to know each other. The older guys kind of having their last hurrah together as well. And we've been, we're going to start practicing this month. So that's going to be fun too, to get both groups together. But I do really need to thank, as I mentioned, those 2, the leadership groups of both those, I can imagine from coaching, from my standpoint, it's really tough, but as a player, you've only got a certain amount of years, right? Like it's not a continuous, dream, right? There's a shelf life to it. And I think the guys have really enjoyed it. there's a couple really good teams in our league. There's a lot of really good teams. You know, two teams that I really have to say are right up there would be like the West Bay Bombers and the Kahnawake team, the Scalpers as well. I mean, those are two incredible teams. You know, like West Bay has, Steph Charbonneau, who's a pro, a lot of McGill alumni, and West Bay. Kahnawake. That is a very, very strong team as well. So, the guys have had the work cut out for them. I think. Also, it's kind of funny. Our first game was our two teams playing against each other, and the Flood Girls, which I'm wearing their T-shirt right now, as you can kind of see, because they ended up losing that game, but they went up. I think it was 5-0 on the older guys. So the older guys were pretty rattled, and they ended up winning it in Braveheart overtime. So it was a good end to the match, but now, they've been duking it out on social media. You can follow those guys at the Flood Girl, Flood Girl LC, and then the Three Bears LC. See those kind of Instagram groups just going at it. And I think, kind of like harken back to the medicine game and what it is. It's just, it's a space where you can be free and enjoy yourself. Right. And that's what we've been trying to do this year. And there's been a lot of disappointment at the beginning, but now you can see even the guys who are most upset, just getting back on the field, hanging out with your friends and being able to play some meaningful lacrosse. I think it means a lot to our guys, more than, if we weren't able to do anything, right? Like at least they get to be teammates and they get to hang out and joke around. So
you've got to tell us quickly, because you teased us a little that the names come from McGill history. We got to know where Flood Girl and Three Bears is Bares. Where do the names come from?
Yeah, so Flood Girl, you'll have to Google Flood Girl. It happened, I think, in 2013 or 2012, and basically the reservoir, which is McGill, is on a hill. And so the reservoir is up top, and then McTavish is this road that's locked off. Basically, it's for walking traffic only. And basically, the reservoir broke in the middle of winter. And so there was, water just coming down the hill at very high speeds. And some poor student decided to try to cross it.
Oh, no.
And she wasn't able to finish the walk across. She started sliding down the hill. And she would stop, but then garbage would come down. And at the end, it's a funny video. You just hear everybody like, "Oh, what is she doing?" And a piece of garbage kind of hits her as she's walking across at the end. And then she's like swept up by that. And she goes, everyone jokes around that she made it to the St. Lawrence. She's probably somewhere out in the ocean now. But that's Flood Girl. And then the other one, the Three Bears, well, it's an actual statue on McGill campus. And so it's three naked men holding up, a fountain. So it's three naked men holding up like a plate where the water comes out. And it's right by, usually in the fall and the spring, there's this thing called OAP, which is the Outdoor Air Pub, which is a student favorite event. And it's usually done right around that statue. And so everybody kind of laughs, you have the three naked, guys holding up the statue. And so we decided to go, with the Three Bears and then the Flood Girl lacrosse club. So,
and Three Bears plays naked, right?
They don't, but they're they don't. I'll just say it that much. Yeah. So we have, we were able to get them pennies, shorts, and T-shirts and everything for this year, as you kind of saw with the shirt that I showed you. So, it's going to be some limited edition lacrosse apparel. I can tell you that much. So. We've been joking around that if ever we make it to the finals, let's say we have to call McGill and try to rent the Molson Stadium and pack out Molson Stadium if we play each other and just have a funny kind of end of the year game. But, I would love for it to be that way. But again, as I mentioned, there's some really good teams in our league. So we gotta make it there first.
Nic Soubry, thanks so much for taking the time. We all miss you in CUFLA this year. We're all looking forward to McGill coming back for 2022.
Yeah, thank you very much, Stephen. And yeah, we're watching, and we'll be out there quicker than you know. So.
Hi, this is Jaden with Al Anderson Source for Sports. Excited to tell you that we got all our new lacrosse product in for this upcoming season. Whether you're playing box or field, our lacrosse experts are going to make sure we get you into the right equipment to elevate your game. At Al Anderson Source for Sports, we know our stuff.
All right, lacrosse friends, thanks for checking out those two terrific interviews with a pair of Nicks, Nick Chaykowsky and Nic Soubry. For the rundown, we're going to have a little bit more CUFLA theme here to start. First of all, the season is underway. We're actually a third of the way through the season already. It goes fast when there are only 6 games per team being played this year. The Baggataway Cup will be November 5th to 7th at Nipissing University in North Bay. Very much looking forward to that. They've been anticipating that for a couple of years with, of course, the 2020 season being canceled. Wanted to mention one player who, like Nick Chaykowsky that you heard earlier, was an All Canadian with multiple teams. That's Jackson Rakoczy, who is a terrific face-off guy. He was an All Canadian face-off man with Queens, and then with Western when he went there to do graduate school. He also has a podcast now. You can look him up, Jackson Rakoczy. It's Rakoczy, I'm pretty sure. Most people spell it wrong. I know I've spelled it wrong on occasion. But check out Jackson's podcast. I mentioned the Baggataway Cup. The favorites right now, we know Nipissing will be there as host. Their fellow team in the Central Division, which is one of 3 divisions this year, an unusual circumstance for this special year where we had to change some things in the league. I do say we because I am the communications coordinator for CUFLA and on the executive, so I've been involved in some of these discussions. Trent University has established themselves as an early favorite by beating Nipissing 19-10 this past weekend. Trent looking very strong. We don't really know because we haven't seen a lot of all the teams, but I mean, Brock's always good. Western are the 4-time defending champions of the Baggataway Cup. They haven't played yet. They get underway probably between the time we record this and the time it comes out. They'll have had their first game, but they are getting underway. You know they're always going to be good, but it's going to be an interesting and very quick season in CUFLA as we head towards the Baggataway Cup. We're going to get to some National Lacrosse League news as well. There were a couple of trades of note. One, Anthony Kalinic on the move again. He was traded from Calgary to Panther City Lacrosse Club. He has now gone from Panther City to the Vancouver Warriors, and in return, Panther City they send along a 4th-round pick as well. They get defender Harrison Smith and a 2nd-rounder in return. And Craig Wendy is going to Georgia from the Rochester Nighthawks. That's in exchange for a 4th-round pick. So Wendy actually returning to Georgia where he was before he wound up going to Rochester. The Albany FireWolves have moved from New England, where they were the Black Wolves, and they unveiled their uniforms recently. They are hot, getting all kinds of positive response on social media. People loving them. They've got the red and they've got the white. They both look really, really sharp. I think the uniform numbers might be a little bit not ideal from a broadcast announcer's perspective on the whites, but great looking uniforms. Everyone loving the unveiling of the FireWolves uniform and the brand. We've had some retirements from the National Lacrosse League. Over the last few weeks, Vancouver saw a handful of players retire. James Ray, Joel McCready, and a couple of pretty legendary Warriors players in Chris O'Doherty and Ian Hawkesby. Hawkesby, one of the all-time leading loose ball guys in the league, and O'Doherty, a real trailblazer for American players in the National Lacrosse League. They have all retired, so happy trails to them. And one of the all-time great teammates, a leading loose ball guy, and one of the toughest players in NLL history, Andrew Suter, has announced his retirement. And you might wonder why. He played for 10 years. You might have thought he still had some time in him, but he did have knee issues. I talked to him this week on Laxbeat, my podcast, so go and check that out. Great conversation with one of the great guys from the game of lacrosse and just a terrific person in general. We go into that in some depth, and Andrew Suter explains why he thought now was the time as he was getting ready for another season. It just wasn't going to happen for him. So go check out Laxbeat. And it is on anywhere you get your podcasts. It's on Anchor FM, but you can get it through Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Check it out, Laxbeat with Andrew Suter. Thanks so much for being with us here this week on Lacrosse Link. Very happy to feature CUFLA this week. Lots more great stuff coming up. We've got some very cool episodes planned over the next handful of weeks. So make sure you subscribe to the link, ring the bell so you get the notifications, and you know every time we release the show so you can keep up with the world of lacrosse here on Lacrosse Link.
Gotta get it, get it.
Bye.